Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it is to everyone. This is the hardcore group of educators here working on the first week of August when you would rather be at the beach. Who knows, maybe you are at the beach, I'm not sure. I am a teacher by training, taught for 10 years, and then I was a school district supervisor of instruction and director of curriculum instruction for another 15 years. And spent the last 10 years working in Discovery Education, which is an ed tech company. I have enormous respect for anyone who gets up in front of kids every day. And so you'll understand when I say this is the second time I've done this presentation, so you're like period two. Hopefully I'm through the rough spots from period one, first thing in the morning. I would like to start by saying big thanks to Infosys Foundation USA, our hosts. Thanks for inviting us. We're thrilled to be here with the Pathfinders Institute and hope you'll find our information helpful. We're talking about the guidance on the future of computer science education in an age of AI, which we just released. But I want to start with a question and a poll. What are your top two burning questions regarding AI in CS education? So think about that for a second. We're all at a very unique moment in the history of the world. And then I'd like you to go to Slido, pull out your phones, capture the QR code, and answer the question there. It's an open-ended question. What is your number one burning question regarding AI in CS education? We know it's a long, hot summer, and we know this is the hot topic coming into the school year. So kind of curious what you all are thinking. All right, see, we got 6 people typing. Great questions. All right, how to incorporate this concept in a meaningful way and one that is allowed by CPS. I'm guessing that's Chicago Public Schools. Making a guess there. How can AI be integrated into the CS curriculum to enhance personalized learning experiences and improve student outcomes without exacerbating the digital divide? That is a tough one. Should I share them tools they can use outside the classroom or keep it to the AI tools we can monitor? How does a teacher help students take advantage of the resources? That's a good one. How do you build a habit for students where they don't use AI as a shortcut? That's a very big concern going on amongst all people we talk to. What are the ethical implications? Will the AI replace humans? Wow, those are really tough questions. What are the ethical implications? I'm going to come back to that. Will AI replace humans? The answer to that is real quick. Probably not, but you might be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI better than you. So that's one thing that we often hear. What are the correct apps that we can use in our classrooms for computer science in elementary school? I'm going to have a few suggestions today. When will the school districts unlock AI? It still seems there's still some reluctance to allow students to use AI tools. Yeah, that's a pretty common occurrence we're hearing. And is programming still necessary, and how is it going to impact education? I think I can get to a lot of these. I can't get to all of them. Interesting thing, a feature here with Slido. I've never seen this before, but it says AI 5, student 4. I'm gonna have to dig into that. I don't know if Slido now has an AI detector in it or not. Isn't that pretty wild? I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's an interesting world we're living in. Um, I'm going to come back to those questions. If I don't, we will have a Q&A that you'll be able to add in questions. If you are looking for the slides from this presentation, Pam, who also is on the call and is with TeachAI as well, she's going to drop that in the group chat now. Pam, I put it in Slack to you. And so Pam will put that in the chat so you can come and take a look at these slides on your own. First, a little bit about TeachAI. We're an initiative. We're not a separate company or an organization. We're an initiative that's brought together by these 5 partners that you see here: Code.org, ETS, ISTE, Khan Academy, and the World Economic Forum. Those are our main conveners, and we are Pam and I work for Code.org, which is part of this convening. There's also a massive amount of people giving us input. What is it that we do that's different than other AI organizations? Well, we're really listening and then sharing. So we're not looking to set direction and change everything we can about AI. We're trying to find out, like you, what is going on in the world of AI and how can you handle it? So we talk to a lot of different people. We listen to everyone from Pearson to Adobe to the Council of Chief State School Officers to OpenAI to National Council of Teachers of Math. And we try to understand what their perspectives are, and we listen, and then we share that back out. And what I'm going to share with you today is some of that information that we have gathered. We also share that information with a lot of government agencies. So some of you asked, when is my school district going to unlock AI? Unfortunately, we can't give you that exact information, but we can tell you which states we're talking to. And right now we're with almost every state, and almost every state has also released guidance on, I think 21 states, is it Pam? Maybe it's 22 states have released guidance on how to use AI in schools. So it may be very likely that last year you didn't have any guidance because ChatGPT wasn't really a thing until November of 2022. And so in the last year, a lot of states have added guidance based on working with us and a lot of other groups. We also have guidance contacts with the Department of Defense Education Agency, those schools as well. Globally, we work with a lot of ministers of education, and you can see some of them are listed on the right. So what am I going to talk about today?
Hey, Marty, real quick,
Yep.
sorry, question
Sure.
from a couple of teachers in the chat regarding, you may not have information pertaining to this, but Texas, where the status of they would be in regards to that, your earlier slide.
I'm going to ask Pam on that. Do you know where we are with Texas?
Yeah, no, I think we're in conversations, but they haven't yet at least joined to engage through this particular initiative. Maybe that will change in the near future, and I don't believe they've issued guidance yet.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. Someone else also said, I'm surprised New York isn't on there either. If you go to our site, we actually have an update that Pam's very great at updating every time there's new guidance added, and that's on the TeachAI site. So you can see which states have added guidance and which ones are in the process. So today we've done introductions and some context. We're going to do a review of our new guidance around computer science in the age of AI. We're going to go through a few lessons and resources as we do that, and then we'll have time for a Q&A. And so I'm hoping you'll get from that a sense of how AI is reshaping computer science education. I hope you'll also share our guidance with colleagues and school leaders and district leaders. And we're also going to share some connections to practical resources about teaching with AI. So I think everybody knows we're in a moment. This is like, an amazing part of world history to be in. It's probably equally amazing as it is a little bit scary. And so trying to find out where we're going is really something that we feel like is really important for us to do as a group. A little bit of background, I'm sure you've probably seen this type of information before, but generative AI, machine learning, AI in general, is a kind of a natural evolution of machine language that has developed all the way back to the 1940s. So we're at this next stage that's a lot like and feels a lot like, say, the first kind of expansion of the internet in the 1990s. So we have this amazing feeling of all these possibilities, but also a lot of concerns. So how do we go through that? How do we think about it? One of the things that we feel really important and that we hear from our leaders, our executive leaders who work with us, like Charity Freeman from the CSTA board, she really feels like it's our responsibility as computer science educators. We don't have the luxury of burying our heads in the sands. We kind of need to be the people who lead students in understanding of the societal and ethical implications of AI. That means the good, the bad, the benefits, the harms, the possibilities, and the realities. And so what we've tried to do is lay some of that out here for you today. You'll hear us come back to this time and again. We separate teaching about AI into teaching with AI and teaching about AI. Frequently, when we hear about AI from the education media, it's about the with. It's often about the tools of AI. Do I use ChatGPT? Do I use Magic AI? What are those tools that I use? Equally important, if not more important, is teaching about AI. So that's understanding how it works. What are the foundational concepts? What are the foundational concepts that are part of computer science, data science, social studies, science, mathematics? We're going to hit a little bit of that today, but we often have our conversation, we think about splitting it with AI and about AI. Where are we in our work? We really started this about a year and a half ago, and we started with very basic guidance for schools. It was a toolkit. If your school is looking for, we want to make a policy on AI, we have that. Go to our site and you'll see an AI guidance for schools toolkit. If your school or school district's at the point where you're saying, you know what, we're going to start a policy on how to approach AI, we have foundational policy ideas, great little briefs that explain that. We've also done a whole series with education and industry so that we can understand as educators, where is the industry going with AI? And right now we're in our release mode of the guidance on the future of CS, computer science in the age of AI. And that's what we're here today about. You'll see the car there on the road is starting to go up a little hill. And that little hill is our next step is in 2025 is the AI literacy framework. But before we do that, we're going to release more guidance on the future of CS in the age of AI. So we're going to start here today showing you our first 3 briefs on how to approach computer science in the age of AI. All right, I'm going to stop here and see if we can do another poll. This one is very simple. Do you teach with AI? And the 3 options are yes, no, but I would like to, or just no. right, so it looks like we have about 13 responses in, and most of us are at no, but I would like to. And 27% are at yes. And of course, this is one of those things where there is no correct answer. It's just where we all are in trying to learn our way through the new world. I'm going to go on and show you a similar poll that was conducted 2 weeks ago with the attendees of the CSTA conference in Las Vegas. Do you teach with AI? Yes, 67%. No, but I want to, 23%. So those are people who've been doing this for a living for a long time. So it's interesting to see the comparison between the two. Now we're going to go on and get into a little bit more detail about this guidance that we have created. If you want to go and get a PDF version of it, you can go right to that link there at the top of the page, and you'll get a very nice, beautiful website, but you'll also get a PDF version. If you're a little bit old school like me, you might like having the paper version in front of you, just because it's a little bit easier to flip through. So printing it out sometimes is a little bit easier. Our goal in doing this, creating this guidance, was 4 things. We wanted to help everybody realize the benefits and at the same time mitigate the risks of AI. We also feel very strongly that we need to broaden participation in CS education. That's one of our core values. We feel like broadening the participation to reflect the diversity of the country is extremely well, and the diversity of any country that we work with. We also are looking for how can we modernize the computer science curriculum and its instruction. And there's a link to that I'll show you in a minute. And we wanted to provide examples for other subject areas. Oops, sorry about that. So the first 3 briefs, and if you go to the link down there, you can go into the guidance and look through it yourself. Why is it still necessary to learn to program is number 1. How are computer science educators teaching about and with AI is number 2. And 3 is how can students become critical consumers and responsible creators of AI? I'll go over those 3 pretty quickly. And then we will talk a little bit about the 4 more briefs that will be released in December. So why is it still important to learn how to program? This is a question that we heard quite a bit as all the fanfare came out about every new tool that's been released and how great it is at doing certain tasks. And one of the tasks that we heard was, well, maybe we're not really going to need to have coding anymore because the AI tool will be able to do that for us. That shows a little bit of misunderstanding of what we're trying to teach in computer science education. It's extremely important that students be able to understand how coding works, because otherwise they will not be able to tell when the programming is correct or incorrect. And as you've probably heard, a lot of the AI tools that are out there now in their current incarnation make mistakes. And they're very good at appearing extremely confident when they make those mistakes. So it's really important that a student develop coding understanding so that they can go through and detect when those mistakes are made. We also know that this idea that AI can do it accurately and independently is not something that we've seen to be true. Myth 3 is AI will replace all programming jobs. Everything we are hearing from our industry partners, whether that's GitHub or Microsoft, is that they are looking for people who can develop a good understanding of how coding works. And then the last is the only purpose of learning programs is to produce programs. And that's just not true. what we've learned over the decades of computer science is that it's important to develop something called code sense. If you've ever worked in math education at the elementary level, you've probably heard of number sense. And so that is, why do we still teach, adding and subtracting, multiplication and division, and math facts when a calculator can do it? Well, because you have to have number sense in order to make sense of the output. And then you need that structure to understand how to develop later concepts of math that are more complicated. And if you don't have that fluency of number sense, you will not be able to quickly have the ability to delve into, say, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus, the more advanced maths. Similarly, we are increasingly seeing that code sense is the basis for understanding deeper development of computer science ideas, like the design, the process, the system relationships, that are major parts of developing computer science understanding. Also, a student needs to develop that programming code sense with fluency, because they need to have the free cognitive power of their brains to analyze, simulate, and predict what a program is going to do. And if they don't understand the fundamentals, they will not be able to get to the more complex understandings. The second area of guidance that we focused on is, how are computer science educators teaching about and with AI? And we did a little poll to get feedback on what teachers in the field were thinking around computer science. We did this with CSTA. And what we found is that teachers want to teach with and about AI. Experienced computer science teachers, 85% are saying that it should be a fundamental computer experience. We also have heard that computer science teachers are looking for that support. There needs to be more training and support. And we also have found that, generally an optimistic feeling about AI and computer science education at this time. But also, as was expressed in some of the poll questions we had at the top of the call, there is concern about bias, misinformation, over-reliance, and AI ethics. That's something we're going to mention a little bit in just a second. Another area that we look for in how are computer science educators teaching about and with AI is, what are the resources that are out there now? So folks asked, what's out there now that I can use? One of our partners is the AI for K-12 initiative, and they've developed an entire approach to how AI can be taught. And if you are a computer science teacher looking for a good place to begin, this is a place that we recommend. I'm going to click on this link, and hopefully you'll see the screen. Did it go to their website? Great, great. And so if you scroll around their website, you'll see that they have organized the teaching about AI into 5 areas. One is perception. 2 is representation and reasoning. 3rd is learning. Goes all the way down to 5, which is societal impact. You'll also find a lot of resources there that are very helpful. Another great link that I would recommend, and I'm going to show you this one. This one's down the bottom of the page here. It says AI for K-12 resources for teaching AI page. You definitely want to make sure you save this one. This is an amazing directory of, well, let's start. There's books. If you're looking for students who are going to be readers, or if you want to have children's books, if you're at the elementary age and you don't want to have students in front of computers yet, you just want to start with a really nice children's book. Here's a series of links for them. There are a ton of curriculum materials that are being released right now. I will go back over a few of these, but you can see how many links there are. With the upper age students, demos are a great way to introduce AI. And there's a list of about 15 demos that you can see live online of how an AI is either developed or it is trained, and you can go through that demo. They're really fantastic. There are some other really interesting kind of like just lists of links, a link of deep fakes. If you're looking to teach about the ethics and problems of AI, if you're looking for links that show the imbalance when it comes to diversity and inclusion in AI, fantastic links here. If you're just looking to, I want to become more conversant in what all the AI lingo is and what the tools are, here's 4 courses. We're, of course, going to recommend our own, which is the code, code.org, AI 101 for teachers. There's a great one from ISTE as well, Artificial Intelligence Explorations. And then there's actually already developed courses. If you have a situation where your administrator has said, you know what, I need you to teach computer science this year, and I want you to include AI, here's courses that are already developed. I will say that the first 3 are really more K-12. This Elements of AI is a fantastic one out of the University of Helsinki, but it is, and the last one, the Q Learning in Python, are closer, I would say, to 19 or 20-year-old age group. And then, of course, a lot of other things that are really supportive, like Resource Directory AI for teachers. There are software recommendations in here. And of course, one of my favorite sections is if you're looking for videos that can summarize how various things work in AI, like the Crash Course AI, the Crash Course Computer Science, How AI Works, again, from code.org. Cool video on how to train your robot. There is a lot of development that's going on here, and we need to thank our partners over at AI for K-12 for putting this together. The third point, excuse me, still on the second point, I jumped ahead of myself. I also have on this next slide several other links beyond the link that I just showed you. Maryland has a really good Center for Computing Education, AI for Educators list, including several PowerPoints that are, if let's say your principal says, could you do a nice little back to school overview of AI in education? They have short little PowerPoints for that. Gwinnett County in Georgia is one of those districts that has a really kind of future approach to how to use AI in education. One of my favorites is a great lesson around machine learning for kids by a teacher called Ryan Robidoux out in Mendon, Massachusetts. And he created a nice lesson on using an app called Machine Learning for Kids. This is something you absolutely have to play with multiple times before you open it in front of children. But it is basically a way to build an AI tool inside of an app. And it shows you how to do that, and it gives you lessons on how to do that. And then last, Raspberry Pi has just released courses for students and educators. That's a UK-based approach, of course. The third section, and I'm going to get into a little bit more detail here, is how can students become critical consumers and responsible creators of AI? And so what we tend to think about is, how can I get my students to think not just, as the left cartoon says, am I comfortable sharing images with my app, within this app? And that's a serious issue, and that was there before AI. We know social media has been a major challenge. But how can I get them to think more like the second image? Let me just make my own photo filter app so that students can learn how to become creators. And so what you're going to see in every section we have in the guidance is a reflection section. So if you download the guidance document, you'll find that there's 3 briefs inside of it. And each brief ends with this great chart of what is it that I can reflect upon. So if you are being tasked with, you know what, I need to go back when we get back to school and work with my department or my colleagues on a study area, this is a nice little reflection piece that you can use as a study. And we separated it into reflection, call to action, and further study. The call to action really shows ways that you can participate in some of the ongoing PD. It can also help you understand what policies exist and what the guidelines are. Let's be honest, sometimes we just need to find out what is the state recommending that I do or do not do. And so we have links to that within our guidance. And then, of course, what are the curriculum and professional development providers doing? And then we have a section for further study that has links in it as well. I'm going to move on to the third section. How can students become critical consumers and responsible creators of AI? Kind of jumped ahead on that. One is transparency and accountability. We have 5 sections here in total: transparency and accountability, information accuracy, privacy rights, fairness and justice, ethical design. Each section has a little card that gives you an idea of how you can talk about this type of AI topic with students. It also gives you some ideas for classroom practice. One of my kind of interesting finds, sorry, I jumped ahead here, is a new AI assessment scale that has been developed in Australia by a researcher named Leon Furs. They are dealing with how do I tell students when they can use or not use AI? And so they give you the research and the consideration behind it. And then they've created a nice little graphic on when I should be allowing AI or not allowing AI. So the idea is, if I'm giving an assignment, and again, we're talking middle and high school here only. We're only talking about kids who are 13 or older, probably, because most AI tools have an age restriction. When do I use AI? When do I not? And what FERS recommends is telling students through this chart at the beginning of any assignment, you may not use AI, or you may use AI in, say, number 2, to generate ideas, but you can't use it to actually write anything. Or 3, you might say, you would be allowed to use AI-assisted editing. And then there might be even some times where you're going to allow AI to do a task completion. And then there's this final idea: could you ever let a full AI be completed? There might be times when that's important in a computer science discussion, because you want to see what the AI would create so that you can then criticize or review it. And so this scale that FERS has created is a nice little way to think about how to approach the idea of how to use AI honestly and with academic integrity in the classroom. I'm going to switch over here to our next kind of set of guidance, and then I'm going to take some questions. But before I do that next set of guidance, I actually think I'll stop here and see what the questions are that are in the chat. So if you got a minute, I've covered a lot of ground in about 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and I want to make sure that I've answered your questions before we go on to our wrap up. So I'm going to stop there and listen for questions.
Hi. I want to know how AI is looking at the issue of bias and social justice. Do you have any resources that we can use for students?
Yes, if you go into our AI guidance, this third section, how can students become critical consumers and responsible creators of AI, talks about fairness and justice, ethical design, privacy rights, and how AI is built. I would recommend going to some of the links that are built into that section of the website that give students background on the issues with fairness and justice. I also would cite some of the videos that I showed in that link earlier that really give a great overview of the problems with AI and how the data sets that are used are really amplifying bias. And so what we know from what we're hearing from students is students are more trustworthy of AI than adults, and that they're more prone to believing the output. It's our job, we feel, to make sure that the students also get the information on how these AI data sets are created. And so a couple of the videos that I have back there, let me see if I can get back to that link. This one down here, and I'm going to scroll down to the links here. This entire resource directory, Explore AI Ethics, touches on the issues of how AI is amplifying biases that humans already come along with. And if you want to get into some of the videos, there's a great one, AI Ethics and Fairness in 7 minutes. And I'm trying to remember the other one that was very helpful. I remember. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Sorry about that. So I would go into this link, which is, if you're in the deck, it's on the bottom of this slide, and there's the link right here, resources for teaching AI page. It's developed by the AI for K-12 organization. Are there any other questions? All right. It's a very quiet group today.
You're doing too good a job, Marty. They're all experts now.
Okay. I'm going to get into my wrap up here. Let me get to the last set of slides. So if you open up your phone again, we'd like you to vote on which guidance we should publish next. So we have 7 different topics that we're working on. How can AI be used to broaden participation in computer science? What are the core concepts and practices that might be emphasized or de-emphasized? How can we better support students with disabilities to learn with and about AI? What can computer science education learn from how AI is used in software development? What AI-related content skills should a fundamental computer science experience include? How can computer science teachers use AI to promote creativity, starting in primary grades? And how do we teach about AI in contexts with low technical infrastructure? So if you go to the Slido, it will ask you to pick your top 3. And that'll give us an idea on what we should be thinking about as we developed our next set of guidance. So I'm going to give everybody a minute to do that.
Marty, Pam had a good idea. If we have a little extra time, maybe we can go back and answer some of the original questions asked in the first Slido.
That's a great idea.
Thanks, Pam.
Love that. So I know I didn't hit all of them. I may have ducked some of the really hard ones. All right, this is a very interesting ranking. Number one right now is how can AI, wait, it just got replaced. I spoke too soon. I think we're still waiting on a couple more people. All right, I think we've got number one is now how can computer science teachers use AI to promote creativity starting in primary grades? What should be the fundamental content and skills of AI that's included in computer science? And how can AI be used to broaden participation in computer science? Well, this is really helpful. What we do, just to kind of give you an idea, is we take these polls all the time. We want to hear back from teachers and educators. This is the same poll that we did, like I said, a few weeks ago at the Computer Science Teachers Association Conference in Las Vegas. And you can see what their results were. I'm going to wrap up with a plug for CSTA, one of our big partners. CSTA is in the process of redrafting its computer science standards. And part of what they're doing is they first came up with an idea of how should we think about how computer science might change in the future. And so they have this document, Reimagining Computer Science Pathways. And if you're looking for more of what's coming in the future, this is a great place to go. They will be writing these standards over the next year. So very similar in terms of timeline to what we're doing with our AI literacy framework. So I wanted to give you a little bit of heads up there. And then I'm going to go back in my deck to exactly what Pam said, which is let's look at what the original questions were. Pam, that was a great idea, but I apparently don't have that.
I think if you click it, put it back into present with Slido mode, I think it doesn't disappear.
Okay.
I think.
Ah, yes.
Ah,
Thank you, Pam.
you're welcome.
Saving me yet again.
To answer tough questions, yes.
Yeah, so these are the questions that came at the beginning. Let me see. How can AI be integrated into computer science curriculum to enhance personalized learning experience, improve student outcomes without exacerbating the digital divide? This is really several questions in one, a really hard set of questions. And our philosophy on the digital divide is it's really our job to get digital experiences out to as many students as we can. And that when we withhold digital experiences because we're not sure about how the technology works, it's probably allowing other students who are being given the technology, it's probably giving them a leg up, which exacerbates the digital divide. So what we have been doing and what we're continuing to do is work with other organizations who are researching the quality and the efficacy of AI tools. And part of what we're hoping to be doing in our AI literacy framework is highlighting those examples of the ones that are working well. But the answer is right now, this is not proven. There's not a proven tool yet that we would say 100%. We would recommend trying quite a few of the tools. And if you go into our site, you'll see those recommendations. How to incorporate this concept in a meaningful way and one that is allowed by CPS. I think that means a public school district that starts with C. And so I guessed Chicago. But I think the best way to do that is to look at what your local policy guidance is. And we work at the state level. and the national level. And the link in our site, our TeachAI site, will show you what each state is doing. And we're expecting then that districts will then work with the state to implement a program. And if they haven't, we recommend showing your district leaders the TeachAI website and resources. Use this as an opportunity to say, hey, have you taken a look at this? Should I share students that they can use outside the classroom, or keep it to the AI tools we can monitor in the classroom? Our answer to this is pretty much the AI tools are going to be ubiquitous within a year or two. So right now we're in Zoom. We're using Google Docs. You might be using PowerPoint, or you might be using Word. All of those are going to have AI assistants built into them very shortly. If they don't already, as you all know, when you do a Google search right now, it comes back with an AI response as the top response. So the reality is that these tools are going to be ubiquitous. So we recommend getting used to them and sharing them outside the classroom so that students can play with them on their own. I would add a caveat, which is that most of the companies that have large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, all have restrictions for usage under the age of 13. And so we don't recommend, going against that recommendation. How does a teacher help students take advantage of these resources? Our recommendation is try one or two, a semester. Don't try to burn all of those links that I gave you. Try one or two of those lessons and see how it goes. This is not a situation where there are expert answers. If someone is telling you they are an AI expert, unless they are working in MIT or Stanford, they're probably not. Most of us are learning this as we go, and there's going to be failures along the way. And so our watchword is do no harm to students. So we need to really be careful that when we're sharing something that we're sure that it's going to work. There are a lot of the links that I gave you allow you to teach about AI without getting into AI tools, which is a very safe way to begin. This is a great question. How do you build a habit for students where they don't use AI as a shortcut? At this point, we're looking into that Leon Furr's assessment table that we gave you, which is to really consider when are the correct times to use AI and when are the incorrect times to use AI, and that you as the teacher should be able to set that. And that comes back to having an academic integrity policy at your school. And so we often recommend that if that hasn't been revisited lately, go back to that as a starting point and say, yeah, there will be times when we're going to allow you to use AI, and we'll be clear about that. But if we haven't said it's okay, maybe that's not the time to use it. Are there ethical implications? I think there are pretty big AI ethical implications. If you go into the links that were around the bias and the way large language models have been built on kind of certain data sets, we're going to have to really consider whether or not that's fair to share that information. Not the information on how they're built, but whether we're going to rely on that information going forward. One of the things that we recommend is an exercise called creating model cards. This is something that's really for probably high school students. But just as food has nutritional labels, we're expecting that in the future there will be summaries of how an AI model is built and trained and what the data set is. Right now, what we're suggesting is if you're going to do AI research, that you have students look at that before using the AI tools to find out how, say, Claude was trained or DALL-E was trained. Those are all links that we have in those courses, link out to ideas like that. I think I answered that one about AI and humans. Correct apps that we can use for our classrooms in computer science and elementary schools. We don't recommend using the ones that are that are banned for under 13. We recommend teaching about AI before getting into those apps and really following that recommendation. Let's see, when's the school district's going to unlock AI? I already answered that. How's it going to impact education? That is a huge question. And a lot of the conversations that we hear from teachers and from professional leaders alike are the concern of, will AI make students dependent on that technology and therefore not develop the higher level thinking skills they need? And that's one of those questions that I liken to about 20 years ago when calculators first came out. Will calculators short circuit students' ability to learn math? And so I think we found that when calculators are used appropriately and don't become a crutch, they're very helpful. So that's kind of looking back at history is our only way to figure out what the future may hold.